Hi, I'm Julie Schlosser.
And I'm Liz Stevenson.
And today we're going to learn about Sacagawea. Sacagawea was born sometime around the late 1780s. Her father was chief of the Shoshone people who lived in the area that we now call Idaho. When she was a teenager, her tribe was raided by the Hidatsa tribe, who were the sworn enemies of the Shoshone. Sacagawea was taken by the Hidatsa people and was sold to a French-Canadian fur trapper, who later made Sacagawea his second wife. For this reason, she spoke Shoshone, Hidatsa, and French growing up. Her husband spoke both English and French.
Sacagawea is most famous for accompanying Meriwether Lewis and William Clark on their expedition to explore the land purchased by President Thomas Jefferson. Along with her husband, Sacagawea was a valuable addition to their expedition because she not only served as a translator, but was familiar with much of the territory they covered and was skilled at growing and gathering wild food. Along the journey, she used a sharp stick to dig up wild licorice, prairie turnips, and wild artichokes that mice had buried to store for the winter.
The expedition traveled from North Dakota to the Pacific Ocean, a journey of about 8,000 miles. Sacagawea gave birth to her first child right before the expedition set out, but she did not let that slow her down. She traveled the rough terrain and wilderness with her infant son strapped to her back. About a month into the trip, Sacagawea further earned the respect of her traveling companions when their boat capsized. While the men panicked, Sacagawea had the presence of mind to gather important papers, navigation materials, books, medicines, and provisions that would have otherwise disappeared, while making sure her son stayed safe.
After reaching the Pacific Ocean, Sacagawea and her husband turned around and headed back to their home in North Dakota. In 1812, Sacagawea gave birth to her daughter, but quickly developed a fever. She died later that year at the age of only 25. As a tribute to her contributions on the expedition, the U.S. Mint issued a $1 coin with the image of Sacagawea for a short time in the year 2000. Next, we'll teach you a song to help you remember the story of Sacagawea.
You came downstream a captive, you're a pretty young Shoshone. You carry the child of Charbonneau. But it's a journey of a lifetime into the great unknown. You're the only one who knows the way to go. So glad to meet you, Sacagawea. There's a woman's way of knowing in your eyes. Where would we be without Sacagawea? Bird woman, fly free, Sacagawea. 31 men, a babe, and a mother, floating up the mighty road. And now you've gained their admiration overnight. And you're a sign of peace to everyone who sees this traveling show. 'Cause nobody brings a woman looking for a fight. So glad they see us, Sacagawea. The morning sunlight shining in your eyes. Where would we be without Sacagawea? Bird woman, fly free, Sacagawea. See the beaver head of stone, landmark of a long lost home, flood of memories sweeping you away. You cannot hide your disbelief, your brother
This week, we learned about Sacagawea, who was born to the Shoshone tribe of Native Americans. The Shoshone, like most of the Great Plains Native Americans, used music in their everyday life and in tribal ceremonies, including whistles and drums. Now, many of the drums that were made by indigenous people in North America consist of a frame, usually made out of some curved wood, and a drum head that they would make by stretching an animal skin over their frame. We're not going to use any animal skins today. To make a drum here, all you're going to need is a can, an empty clean can, a balloon, some scissors, and if you like, some tape. So the first step, I always like to blow up my balloon a little bit to make it nice and stretchy before we start, so I'm going to do that now. And once you've got it blown up, just gently let the air out. All right, and once you've got a nice stretchy balloon, we're going to cut the balloon where the big round part meets the long straight part. So underneath, like the light bulb shape, is where we're going to give it just a quick snip. All right. Now once we've got our stretched out balloon and our can, we're going to take the balloon and stretch it across the opening of our can. You might need to use 2 hands or a grown-up to help you. Let's give this a try. And there we go. Now we've got our frame. Ours isn't made out of wood, but it's made out of metal. And we've got our drum head made out of balloon. If you like, you can use your piece of tape to wrap around the edge of the balloon to make sure it's nice and secure and won't pop off on you while you're playing your drum. Here we go, we're going to tape it in place. Right. Now it's taped on there. And that's all you need to do. Now you've got a drum that you're ready to play. You can take a spoon or even just your finger. I'm going to use a marker as my drumstick, and let's hear how it sounds. It's got a really good sound for such an easy instrument to make. Send us pictures or videos of you with your own homemade drum, and we'll include them in a bonus video at the end of our series. Thanks so much for taking a look at how to make an instrument just like the Native Americans.
The theme for summer reading this year is Imagine Your Story. So one more time, we'd like you to help us imagine the story of Sacagawea in your own words. We're going to do that today in a kind of song that's sort of like a Mad Lib. So there'll be places that you can fill in the blanks with your own ideas, and then we'll figure out what we can remember about Sacagawea's story. So let's give it a try. She was born of the people, was her name. She was kidnapped and sold to, so she spoke languages, they say. She translated for and helped them gather while they traveled on. For miles they traveled, while on her back Sacagawea carried her. While they were on a
large and strong. You can see her picture on. You can hear her name in our song.
We hope you've had a great time learning about Sacagawea. Don't forget to send in your ideas for how we can finish the new song. This is our final folk hero for our summer series, but stay tuned. As your ideas for how to finish writing the song keep coming in, we'll have one last video at the end of September with the completed lyrics for all 6 songs, plus any pictures and videos of you playing your instruments that you made at home.
And as always, if you liked learning about Sacagawea and want to know more about her trip with Lewis and Clark, or about the indigenous people that lived on this continent, be sure to check out a grab-and-go book from the Blossburg Library. Thanks so much for coming with us for stories and songs of America's folk heroes. Bye-bye.